Okay, so this is the guitar basics. I don't know how to teach guitar as well as on the uke, but I'm gonna give it a shot because I know and this is a good thing for anyone to pick up. So I'm just gonna go through some of the basics similar I do on the uke, and just try to give it a shot. But it's still very simple. If you keep it simple and then just do some repetition and actually just keep practicing, actually you can learn it pretty well. So stay tuned on that. So guitar, complication, 6 strings versus 4. But that's okay. So basically you got the top string, which is the E. You get the next string, which is the A. And then you have the next string, which is the D. And then you get the next one, which is the G string. And then the next one is B, and then the very bottom is another E, which is a high version of the top string. So those are both E's. So those are the basics for the strings top to bottom. Then for doing chords, which is a lot of what we do, it's basically, it consists of a bunch of notes is all it is. So in order to make a chord, you got to be able to make a note. So the key thing for notes is that you got strings. We already went through that. You also have the frets. So that's these metal bad boys kind of coming across here. So you don't count that beginning one. You could call it a 0 fret. Sometimes it's marked as that, but that's just the bridge. First metal thing, that is a fret. Fret 1, fret 2, fret 3, fret 4, and all the way down. And so you just nice things we can count up and figure out what number fret it is. Also, the handy thing for most guitars, not the classical nylon string ones, but most other guitars, they've got these little dots on top to kind of help you see where you're at, and that way you don't have to count every fret. So it does help. And in this case, this has some inlays that kind of matches that as well. So there's a dot up here on the 3rd fret. So you know that there's that dot. First dot is the 3rd fret. Second dot is the 5th fret. Next one is the 7th. It's kind of skipping every other one. The next one is the 9th. Here we go 3 up to the double dot, which is the 12th fret. And the beauty and magic of the 12th fret is that the way we've set up music over the last, I don't know, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years, is that there are basically 12 notes in a scale. And that's just how we've divided it. So there's an octave, which is low, and then there's a high, and there's 12 notes in between. So this 12 thing means that this is an E where I don't play any frets, but when I play that double dot 12th fret, that's a high E. And the same thing all the way down. The second string is an A, but if I play that double dot and actually play that, that's a high A. So that's the beauty of 12 with music, is it divides it into 12 equal segments, basically. So those are your frets. Now, the main thing to make a note is you're going to pluck, or if you have a pick, you're going to pick. So you just do that. Now you made a note. Now you made an E note. If you want to make a G, you're going to actually go to the 3rd fret on the top string, and you're going to press down on it with your fingertip, ideally. Sometimes you have to flatten it, but ideally you kind of curve your finger and press on your fingertip. Press just behind the fret. That's how you make your note. If you're on it, you'll get a little vibration. If you're just this way, a little forward of it, then you're going to get a muffled one. It's actually starting to play the next note. So you get just behind the fret is how you make your note. Sorry, that's a G. So now open without any notes, it's an E. But then if I press on that just behind the 3rd fret on the top string, that's a G. So there you go. So that is now a note. And now you can basically make any note anywhere on the guitar by pressing that. So that's how you do it, and you'll get better at knowing where to put your fingers. This brings up probably one of the biggest problems for beginners, which is it hurts. That's true. Our fingers are a little soft. Strings are typically hard, and often they're metal, and sometimes thin metal is sharp, so that can kind of either cut or it can kind of just hurt over time. And that is very common. But you do develop what they call callus by doing it. So so over time it actually gets a little bit better. Also, this is an acoustic, meaning it's got a hollow body, got the opening, so to make an acoustic sound and actually project, these things the strings are a little bit tighter, and there might be a little more tension, and they hurt a little bit more. If you go to electric guitar, you get less volume unless you're amplified, but much less volume because it's a solid body, and all you do is playing the vibration of the strings. There's no body to amplify it. However, for learning, electric is really good because it's very nice and easy. The strings are not as tight, not as much tension, and so it's easier just to press down, and it's much more forgiving on your fingers. So I actually recommend people start with electric. But right now I'm doing acoustic so you can get the sound. Otherwise it's tough to hear. So that's it. Those are the basics. Now, moving on to chords. So I want to do some of the basic chords, and you're going to have to kind of learn the fingering as well. But there's all kinds of tutorials and chord charts and all that kind of stuff. But I just want you to know some of the basic chords. So I'm going to start with the G chord. So we could do what I call a cheater G, which would be you're strumming all strings, but you're actually doing the 3rd fret of the bottom string. So that's kind of what I call a cheater G. And it's cheater because it's nice and easy. You just made a 1-note chord. However, some of these top strings are not actually designed for the G chord, G major chord. But at least you can do it. That's it. And then a cheater C would be 1st fret 2nd string for the bottom. So that's it. So now you got 2 chords. So cheater G, cheater C on the 1st fret 2nd string. So there you go. As my kids tell me, they don't want to learn the cheater chords, they want to learn the real ones. So here are the real chords. So for G, you're going to put what I do. I'll do my fingering because the way others do it, it makes it easier to transition other chords, but it's just not as natural for me. So I'm going to put my ring finger, bottom is going to be 3rd fret, bottom string. And then middle finger's on the top string, 3rd fret. And then the pointer finger is right there on the 2nd string, 2nd fret. So it's going to make, those are the notes it makes. So that's a G chord. And if you strum it all together, there's your G chord. Nice and full, nice and good. Now, I'll do the C chord, not the cheater one. We're going to start on the cheater part, which is the 2nd string, 1st fret. Right there, but then we're going to put our middle finger on the 4th string from the bottom on the 2nd fret. And then this ring finger, where does it go? Well, it goes right on the next string, next fret, which is kind of a nice thing. So that'd be on the 5th string, 3rd fret. You have to stretch a little bit. That's a C chord. So the notes that I'm making are, so that's the C chord. Okay, so 2nd string, and then the 4th string from the bottom on the 2nd fret, and then 5th string from the bottom. So that's your C. Now we're going to go to a D chord. It's a staple of music. So this is kind of the shape we're doing for D chord. You kind of start with the middle finger on the bottom of the bottom string, 2nd fret. 2 strings up, you put your pointer finger. So you're essentially skipping a string but same fret. So that's the sound you get that way. Now keep those bad boys there, and then you put in your ring finger for the 2nd string, 3rd fret. So those bottom 3 notes will sound like this. There you go. So that's a D chord, and then you can also play the 4th note, which is open when you're strumming, so it makes it sound more full. The others, top 2 strings, typically try and avoid playing those when playing the D chord because they're actually not part of that D major scale, so it sounds a little weird because they're not the correct notes. So you typically, when you're playing your D chord, you're playing the bottom 4 strings roughly. Doesn't have to be exact. And if you mess up like that, and play the top few strings, don't worry about it. Don't let anybody else worry about it. You just keep moving on. So those are your 3 basic chords. And then you can do tons of stuff. So we could do Amazing Grace. Amazing Grace, starting with G and then C. How sweet, then G, the sound that saved a wretch. And then you go to D, like me. And then back to G. I once was lost, now to C, but now I'm see how that's 3 chords. It opens up your world, man. So that's all you need. It's nice to have a 4th chord, maybe even a 5th, and so on and so forth. So those will come, but you can do a ton with those 3. So that's it. I'm going to show you some of the other chords, so at least you got them in the repertoire, and then you can start working on those 2. Next one, which is really key, is the A chord. And this one, people do different ways. And I'm going to show you the way other people do it, and then I'll just show you the way I do it. So it's basically on the 2nd fret. It's starting with the 2nd string, and you're hitting 3 strings above that. So it's going to be 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings of the 2nd fret. That's your A chord. So, but you can see it's difficult to line up your fingers in a vertical line there with the fret. It's just not that easy to do. So this is where a little bit of wrist rotation and placement helps. Rotating your wrist a little bit helps you line those up a little bit better. And you want to get as close to the fret as possible to get a clean sound. Otherwise you get this kind of muffle sound. I hate that vibration. So that's what you got to do. Rotate a little bit, use your fingertips, and you can get there. So for me, I actually keep that ring finger right there, but I actually put my middle finger on the top one and then the index finger in between. So essentially I'm kind of doing that. And still going on all on the 2nd fret. So again, starting at the bottom or on the 2nd string, 3rd and 4th. That's my A. That's the way I do it, and just it's a lot easier for me. So also, this allows you to do some kind of cool hammer-ons and hammer-offs, which hammer means you're hitting a string while you're playing a chord, and then you can hammer off as you're taking off while you're playing, or you can strum. And same thing with G. You can do the hammer. And then the cool sound is you hammer off with your middle finger so it's open, and then hit it again. So that's where the hammer is. Then with D you can do the same, or A you can do the same thing. And there you take off the bottom string, bottom or the 2nd string with your ring finger. So anyway, this position allows a little bit more fret flexibility there, and it's actually a cleaner note for me. So that's what I recommend. The next one is going to be the F. There's 2 Fs. So I'm going to show you the kind of open one, meaning open is not really a bar chord. So here it's going to be pretty similar to C. If you remember C, there's your C. So with the F, it's a similar shape, except you're crushing the bottom 2 of the 1st fret. So by crushing, you're just flattening your index and crushing that. There you go. And then you just start putting your fingers where they naturally fit, which middle finger is on the 3rd string, 2nd fret, and ring fingers on the 4th string, 4th fret. There's your F chord. Problem is, these top two notes are not part of the F chord, so it's like the D. If you strum those, it doesn't sound good. So you're typically doing your bottom ones for the F on that. Oh my darling F, oh my darling, oh my darling, now to see Clementine. You were lost, back to F, gone forever. Then back to C, dreadful sorrow, back to F. There you go. So that F kind of opens you up big time. So does the A. And so those are kind of the I would say probably the major chords, and you can do a ton of songs with those ones. The reason I was saying that was an open F, there's another world of bar chords, and so you can also play a bar chord F. And the nice thing about the bar chords, you can slide up from one fret to another. And that's why they call it a bar. Essentially, you're making a bar, almost like this bridge here, with your fingers. And you're kind of creating your own chord structure as you move up, which is nice. And so to do that, essentially you would be, this is a little tougher, but on the 3rd fret, you'd be putting your ring finger on the 5th string and your pinky on the 4th. Those notes. Then your middle finger would be on the 4th string of the 3rd fret, like right there. And now you're making the bar. The bar is flattening your finger on that fret. So you're going to do this. There's your bar F. So it takes practice, takes some pressure. You got to really push on it. With acoustic, it's not as easy. With electric, it's a lot easier. And then you can slide up F sharp and then G. And this is also an open G, if you remember in the very beginning. So that's an open G, here's a G bar. And sometimes, particularly when you're playing electric, you might have an open chord, but the bar chord is just easier and it kind of fits a little bit better. So there's your bar. Then the next major chord I think that really opens things up is the E chord, E major, which is a basic one. Here, the typical position, this position will allow you to do 2 chords, which is nice. 2 for 1 special. So middle finger on the 5th string of the 2nd fret, and then the ring finger right below that on that 2nd fret. So that's actually an E minor. That sounds good. To make it a major, you keep that same positioning, and then the 4th string of the 1st fret, you're actually playing you're putting your index finger. So there's your G, or an E major. And then if you let go of the index, it's an E minor, which is very nice. Put it back. There's an E major. Now the nice thing about this structure, we call it a shape, kind of how you're doing a chord. If you do that exact same shape, same frets, but just slide it down 1 set of strings, that's an A minor. So that's an A minor. And then just slide it up 1, it's an A. And then go down 1, it's an A minor. That would mean everything. So that shows how cool that shape is. It kind of gives you several different chord options there. Those are the basics. I'm not going to show you the other bar chords. Well, maybe I'll just show basically what they are, but they're just not as clean. But at least in this video, you can kind of eventually go back and do it. These are bar chords, but it's not as easy to do. Essentially, you're not doing the top string. You're kind of barring the middle 4 strings with your index finger. And it's just not as clean because you're not supposed to bar the bottom or the top. And then 2 frets up, you're barring the 3 strings, so the 2nd string from the bottom, 3rd, and 4th with your ring finger. So let's be those 3, and then you're playing on the 5th string on the 1st fret. So that's a bar. So that is one of the other bars, and it is critical for rock and roll music and electric guitar and all that stuff, because this is a B flat bar in the 1st position, but if I slide it up, it's a B. And then keep sliding it up as a C. That's a C bar. This is a C open, C bar. But the beauty of that is you get these classic 1, 4, 5 things where you can use just the bar position. So wild thing. So that's C to D, which is going 3 to 5th position. You make my heart sing. So once you learn those bars, then you can really go all over the place and do different types of same songs, but just different keys, which is kind of nice. So anyway, that's the basic of the bar. Other than that is about it. Those are some of the basics, and then it's just a matter of practice. Let your fingers kind of rest a little bit. Ideally use it electric. That's a lot softer in your hands, and then just practice chords. They don't have to be songs, but I'm sending you a song sheet, so you'll have any song that you need to know at your fingertips. But you just play any sets of chords you want to. And it just gives you some muscle memory and some practice. So that's about it. I know that went long, but at least you can come back to this. You can kind of look at the basics and then make it happen. Enjoy.